she had things the regular way, you know. She came to New York, hustled, worked at McDonald's for like 2 weeks. And from McDonald's, she started getting, you know, other menial jobs before she was able to meet my dad. They got married, they had children. My mom didn't go back to school. Until she was like 40 to finally start her career. And I know that if there was something like the Nigerian Center, she could have been afforded opportunities, access information on how to go to school or how to start her own business if that's what she wanted to venture into. Remember my uncle, I think I was like 10. He got deported. I haven't seen him in years because he can't come back in this country. If he had had the resources that the Nigerian Center offered, maybe it would be a different story. As a pastor, and I can speak confidently for the church community, a lot of pastors struggle with the kinds of immigration challenges that their members are having. And sometimes when we pastors meet, we joke about the fact that there's this thing that is, the don't ask, don't tell kind of thing, principle that most Nigerians are engaging in. They don't tell you what they are going through. Some of them are dying in silence. By the time they speak up, sometimes it's too late. And I know that as a pastor, I could have, the Nigerian Center will have come handy in helping people to know what is right, having the kind of the right information, speak to the right attorney, have right representation in court, and just to make the journey easier and smoother in the United States.
People come here from different paths, and for the same main reason is to get a better life and get a situation for their family. So there are numerous ways, there are numerous paths to the United States and to citizenship. So we help people with family-based immigration, employment-based immigration, asylum, refugee cases, student visas, pretty much everything that the law allows us to assist people with with the process of immigration.
Just having this center here, it's just people identified that looks just like us. We can get the resource from. I mean, this is something that even me as a grown-up young person just wanted to come. I wanted to know that it belongs here. I'm just happy that this is here. I wish that my mom and dad, they were still alive to like witness this experience. From the time my parents came from Kenya, they immigrated to New Jersey. And that's where they actually met. It took years for my mom to find employment. My dad has stayed at the same job for 25 plus years in fear of not being able to find other employment. Not even that. Being able to purchase a home, it took them 25 years to buy their dream home. Having the healthcare aspect and having health insurance for my siblings and I. Nigerian Center is providing a service from all classes across the board for immigrants.
And the Nigerian Center provides opportunities with immigration and naturalization, provide home ownership opportunities, access to capital, language classes, and cultural programs. Learning about the Nigerian Center was a godsend. Growing up, I used to think about how we can share our experiences and our culture. And oftentimes, Nigerian people are so interested in giving back, but there are few opportunities and motives to do so. So when I heard about the Nigerian Center, it just clicked. We're talking about home ownership. We're talking about financial literacy. We're talking about immigration services, not only for people from our background diaspora, but for everybody else as well who gain from it. I see the Nigerian Center not only as an opportunity to celebrate a culture, but to also share it as well. I welcome you to be a part of the journey and to be a part of the experience. Welcome to the Nigerian Center.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. Can everyone hear me? If you can hear me, you can just say yes in the chat or just shout it out if you want. That works too.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great.
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. So I just want to say thank you guys so much for coming tonight. It really means a lot to us and we really do appreciate it. We will be starting right now. If you can get this to- So, as you know, this is a Know Your Rights workshop brought to you today by the Nigerian Center and African Communities Together, in a direct response to the most recent travel ban that was implemented on January 2nd. And tonight we're going to be talking about some of the implications for those who are filing asylum, citizenship, and also giving you some practical guidance in relation to travel and reentry and some resources for you all. So tonight, some of our speakers are going to be Nkechi Lechi from the Nigerian Center. She is our policy director. April Holloway, who also works with the Nigerian Center. She's our senior attorney. And Niles Kinuani from African Communities Together. He is their federal policy manager. So the agenda for tonight, we're going to get it started with our director, Benga, who will just give you a brief overview of the Nigerian Center and tell you about some of our upcoming events. Then Nkechi will speak and we'll have our other speakers. And lastly, we will have a Q&A. If you guys have any questions, please hold them to the end unless one of the speakers states otherwise. Feel free to write your question in the chat, or you may raise your hand and wait to be called on. Lastly, just a disclaimer that this workshop is just for information and this is not direct legal advice. If you would like some legal advice, we do have an immigration attorney on staff, who is me, and I would be happy to assist you if you set up a meeting with us. So now I'm going to hand it over to Benga.
Hey, thank you, everyone. This is Benga here from the Nigerian Center, Executive Director. I'm so thrilled. And thank you for coming out tonight to this Know Your Right workshop.
Benga, I'm not sure if everyone can hear you. Can everyone hear Benga?
Yes, we can hear him.
Yes, we can hear him.
Fantastic. So if we can move to the next slide, I'm just going to give an overview of the Nigerian Center, particularly our upcoming events and opportunities to get involved. So if we can go to the next slide, that would be great. I think Tosin cannot hear me.
I can hear you. April said she can hear you, I think.
Okay. So if we can go to the upcoming events, that would be great. Excellent. So that's perfect. So I want to just highlight that we still hold our walk-in immigration clinic every Thursday. If you're in the Washington, D.C. area, please feel free to come in at no cost to you. And also, if you are not in the Washington, D.C. area, you can always speak to our attorneys virtually to get assistance that you might need. The next slide, please. We just begun the tax season. As you know, we are an IRS designated Vita Center. We are able to help you file your taxes at no cost to you as well. It's low to medium income earners. This year is 69,000. And the reason we got involved in this project is because oftentimes tax compliance often becomes a barrier, can become a barrier in naturalization and adjustment of status, as well as just pursuing the American dreams, whether it is home ownership and business and all of that. We want to take that barrier away from you. So that is why we have this program. Once again, you can come into the center to do your taxes. And if you're not in the DMV area, we're still able to help you file your taxes virtually as well. And with the next slide, we're hosting an info session at February 6th with the IRS. We particularly want to invite nonprofit organizations that serve immigrants, low to moderate income to please come. We partner with churches, with mosques, with county offices to provide tax services for their constituencies. So please come virtually on February 6th to be able to join this program. If my Nigerian Center team can help with the links to the events, that would be great. The event page in the chat box. The next slide. We have resumed our micro lending program, and we make up to $10,000 available for both credit building purposes as well as micro business startup purposes. This program is particularly important to us because, as you know, when folks come into the country, it might take them a while to get their very first credit card so that they can start building credit. So oftentimes we have a situation that members of our community have zero credit, and now we have a program that does not go through their credit score or any collateral to be able to provide them the funding that they needed. So we're doing an info session in the DMV area. This program, unfortunately, at this time is only open to those in the Washington, D.C. metro area to be able to qualify for it. Thank you. Next one. Once again, in DMV area for Black History Month, a lot of folks have always wanted to come visit at our physical location in the Capitol Hill area, the Nigerian Center. We are co-hosting Immigrant Storytelling Night, celebrating Black immigrants with the theme of joy. So at February 26th, there will be Nigerian food, there will be storytellers, and there'll be a great community. So come to the Nigerian Center and celebrate Black History Month. So you can register on our page. We look forward to seeing you here. Next, I want to talk about a few opportunities to get involved at the Nigerian Center's work. Please check out our website to see volunteer opportunities. Be patient with us if we don't get back to you immediately, but you can reach out to see how you may be able to serve. I also want to highlight one way everyone online can actually help us is to amplify messaging and just become an ambassador yourself and help us share our content, our materials, our flyers to your community. That'll be fantastic. If you're not following us on social media, please do so. Importantly, because we do provide periodic policy updates. As you know, the policy climate is changing rapidly, and we try our best to really update folks. Our attorneys also provide Know Your Right info sessions or info materials on our social media. Please follow us on the various social media platforms. I also want to highlight our YouTube page, and there's a particular playlist there called Know Your Rights. Our attorneys have done extensive treatment on the three major pathways to naturalization: family-based, humanitarian-based, and employment-based. All the videos on YouTube. We also have a financial education series there with TD Bank. So it's highly resourceful on YouTube as well as the social media platform. Please join us today if you're not following us already. My favorite part, the donations. The question we often get asked is, how can you support Nigerian Center? The best way to support Nigerian Center is to become a recurring donor of any amount. It helps us to plan towards that as a small nonprofit organization. Donations to Nigerian Center are tax deductible. And also oftentimes when people hear donation, we think about a big amount. $5, $10, even $1 goes a long way. Please consider Nigerian Center as your nonprofit of choice. We're a community-led organization. It's by the community for the community, and we can actually go much further with your financial contribution. So if you are not yet a supporter of Nigerian Center, this is my direct invitation to you to please consider donating in supporting Nigerian Center's work. That is all the information I have. Thank you for the time. Oh, one more thing, the TD Bank. We have a fantastic partnership with TD Bank. If you are a TD Bank customer, when next you go into the bank, please let them know that you want to support Nigerian Center through their TD Bank Affinity Program. And TD Bank will turn around and make a donation to the Nigerian Center at no cost to you. They will ask you for an affinity code. That code is AJ486, and they will turn around and give us donation on your behalf. If you are trying to open a new bank account, in the process of doing that, also bring the Nigerian Center up that you heard that they have a program that benefits local nonprofits. They're going to ask you for the same code, and they will make a donation on your behalf to the Nigerian Center at no cost to you. So we're very excited about that. And also stay tuned. We're about to resume our financial education series with TD Bank. Tosin, I'm going to turn it over to you. Bye for now. I'm going to turn on my mic and my phone. I'm not sure we can see your video though, Tosin. Thank you, everyone.
Hey, so can everyone see my screen and stuff? All right, I'm getting some thumbs up. So now we're just gonna get started. And our first speaker will be Nkechi. She is our policy director. Handing it over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? Just want to confirm you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Wonderful. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our Know Your Rights session. We hope that you leave very well informed. And like Benga mentioned, there is a YouTube filled with videos for all covering a lot of topics. So please, this will, I'm sure, will also be on YouTube if we're moving too fast. And if you didn't catch anything, it should be on YouTube. So a lot of the information or policy updates I'm going to go over right now are on our Instagram page. And if you're not following the Nigerian Center on Instagram, please do that right now. We are the Nigerian Center. And once you get on Instagram and you get on our profile, click the bell so that you can be notified. When you click the bell, you can be notified whether we post on our stories, whether we do a post, a reel. You will constantly get notifications on your phone once we post online. So please follow us at the Nigerian Center on Instagram and hit the bell so that you can get notifications of when we post, because some of the information I'm sharing today is already on our Instagram. And so we know that effective January 1st, 2026, the U.S. expanded travel restrictions and visa rules, citing national security, vetting challenges, and overstay concerns. That's particularly for Nigeria. And so Nigeria, amongst 19 other countries, were subject to partial restrictions of the visa issuance and entry restrictions. And what that means are people with non-immigrant visas are impacted. So if we're not clear about what a non-immigrant visa is, that is the B1. And the B1 visa is the business visa. It's for business visitors. And so people that are impacted by this are entrepreneurs, investors, people that maybe want to come to the US for a conference, or policy and development professionals. And so for the B2 visa, that are people that are coming here for tourist, medical, or family visits. And that is typically impacting people that come for family trips, medical travel, or cultural exchange, things like that. So people that are under the B1 and B2 right now are impacted by this restriction. F1 are for students, academic students. So that impacts universities, STEM pipelines, and things of that nature. And then the M1, which is vocational students. So people that are here for skill-based mobility, workforce development partnerships, trade and technical exchange. And J1 is for exchange visitors. So people that are coming to do research, medical training, fellows, policy fellows, cultural diplomacy programs. Those are the people that are under that category that might be impacted. So for Nigeria, as well as other countries that were added to this partial restriction list, the US government has suspended the ability to issue a new visa at the US embassies and consulates abroad. So this was, if you are out of the US by January 1st, 2026, this applies. And if you don't have a valid visa by this date, this applies to you. So what this basically means in the lamest terms, it's planning to apply. If you are planning to apply for a visa abroad, for example, spouse visa, work-based green card visa, and you are from any of those impacted countries, that process may be on hold for some time until the suspension. Why am I struggling to say this word? Suspension is lifted. Okay. Exceptions include dual nationals, those using passports that are not affected, lawful permanent residents, which are green card holders, and special immigrant visas. So if you're like a government official from that country, you may not be impacted, and athletes that are participating in any major US event are exempt from this new suspension. And I'm just going to give a little bit of information about USCIS. My comrade on the immigration battlefield, Niels, will probably go into more detail with this, as well as our chiefest attorney, April, as well. But I'm just going to go over basics. So USCIS has expanded a pause on the immigration benefit, and that includes nationals from 39 countries. So this includes delays for the adjustment of your status for green cards, employment authorization documents, naturalization, citizenship ceremonies, or change or extensions of status. Previously approved cases may be re-reviewed. Okay, so in the lamest terms, this means that if you applied earlier, processing might be delayed and the final approval won't happen until this suspension is lifted. And the latest information as of January 21st, immigrant visas have been paused. So the US paused immigrant visa processing for 75 countries. That started on January 21st. So this pause specifically targets immigrant visas, which are the basis to becoming a lawful permanent resident. This pause affects green card applicants from the 75 countries, meaning you cannot currently receive a green card through the US consulates abroad while this pause remains. This is tough. So this is separate from the partial travel restrictions. However, considering that it's 75 countries, you may see an overlap. And what does this actually mean for people that have existing green cards? So lawful permanent residents currently holding a green card are not automatically stripped of your status. So if you have a green card, you shouldn't worry about being stripped of your status just because your country is on the partial or full restriction list. And our attorneys and Niels will go over that more in detail. And so policies do not retract the valid green cards. So we can breathe a little bit for that. I know personally, I do have a family member that has had a green card for years and just came from Nigeria, and she did not encounter any issues coming in. And she left before the ban and before the partial ban, and she recently came about last week and did not encounter any issues. And I think that sums up my policy updates for today. Thank you so much. Over to you, Tosin.
Okay, and next we will have Nils, who will be presenting as well from African Communities Together.
Yes, I am here. Good evening, everyone. My name is Niels Kinwani. I am the Federal Policy Manager for African Communities Together. I want to thank the Nigerian Center for inviting us, for hosting this very important and timely event to inform our community about the evolving, ever-changing immigration policies. The African Communities Together is a sister organization to the Nigerian Center. We do serve African immigrants working, empowering them to integrate socially, to advance economically, and engage civically. We are located here in the DMV and also in New York City. And I'll post more information about our organization in the chat. I will be talking, and thank you so much, Kenchi, for your presentation, your insight into the travel ban. Now, what we have seen recently is that, the travel ban, which uh, technically targets or applies to people that are trying to enter the US. People generally overseas that are applying for visa or sometimes with a visa and trying to enter the US. Travel ban impact, those people. Now we're seeing that the travel ban now is having some impact or repercussion on people in the U.S. And I want to note here that this is something that we did not necessarily see in the first Trump administration. Remember the Muslim ban, or also called the African ban. So those policies did not necessarily in the first Trump administration result in any major impact on people in the country, right? Especially people that are going through the immigration process. Now that has changed. We remember in the summer, President Trump announced the first travel ban. I believe it was in January, and that travel ban I think impacted over around 19 countries, and after that, we had in December now an announcement from USCIS imposing what I'll be referring to as adjudication pause on applications filed um, by people in the country who are in the country, and those countries are subject to that travel ban. The proclamation, I believe, it was 109449. Now, so that was December 2nd, 2025. And then a few things that travel ban or that proclamation did. One, it imposed an adjudication pause on all asylum applications, regardless of country of origin or country of nationality. The December 2nd, 2025 announced USCIS announcement imposed that blanket pause on all asylum applications. Also, the December 2nd, 2025 USCIS announcement imposed an adjudication pause on all benefit requests, applications, or petitions filed by people from countries that were impacted by the June travel ban, right? And then last thing that this December 2nd, 2025 announcement did, it also directed USCIS to re-review benefit requests, so applications or petitions um, filed by people who were impacted or subject from countries that were subject to the initial travel ban, to the June travel ban, who entered the country, the US, on or after January 20th, 2021. So that is what the first adjudication pause, the first USCIS announcement in December did. Now, as Kenchi mentioned, the travel ban expanded, and I think that happened in the middle of December 16. If I remember correctly, the travel ban expanded to include 39 countries, including the Palestinian state or Palestinian Authority. Now, following that travel ban or that expansion of the travel ban, the USCIS announced a second adjudication pause, and that was announced on January 1st, on New Year's Day, January 1st, 2026. And that is the superseding policy here. And that's, I'll focus on that. And a few things that this announcement did. One, there was no mention of the asylum adjudication pause. So the asylum adjudication pause remained in place. Um, but what it did is that he also imposed the adjudication pause on all applications filed by people whose country were subject to the December 16, 2025 proclamation or travel ban. It put on pause on those applications filed by people whose countries were subject to that proclamation. 39 countries, and the majority of them we should mention here are African countries. And also, the second thing that he did is that he directed that announcement, or the policy guidance, directed USCIS to review vetting policies for people who are subject to the December 16, 2025 proclamation, proclamation number 10998. So that was the second thing. The third thing that they did with regard to the re-review of approved petitions, and again, I want to mention here that this means that USCIS can reopen a case that was approved, and decide on that particular case. Now, with regard to the re-review of approved applications, what the January 1st, 2026 announcement did, it directed USCIS to re-review benefit request applications or petitions filed by people or immigrants whose countries were subject to the December 16, 2025 proclamation or travel ban. And if those people for benefit requests or for applications or petitions approved on or after January 20th, 2021. So here's the distinction between the first one and the second one, is that the first one was when it comes to reopening or re-reviewing applications that were approved, the hook there was the entry date. So people who entered on or after January 1st, 2021. Now, with the new one on January 1st, 2026, it applies to people regardless of your entry date. If your country is listed in the travel ban, the most recent travel ban, and regardless of when you enter the country, if your application was approved on or after January 20th, 2021, then under this new policy, under this new guidance, USCIS can open or re-review your approved application. And so that's a major distinction here. The first one was tied to the entry date, your entry date, and then the second one, which is the current one that supersedes the previous one, is tied to the date your application was approved. So please review the list of countries under the travel ban. The most recent one, 10998, and so to know how you are impacted. Again, a lot of our community members are impacted. As I mentioned, a lot of the countries included in the travel ban are African countries. Now, also one major thing that I wanted to see, there are questions in the chat, I will address them. But adjudication pause is different from uh, like a complete stop or pause on applications. Adjudication pause simply means that USCIS will continue to accept applications, will continue to process application, but will not issue final decisions. So that's very important. We heard that some people were reluctant to file applications because of the adjudication pause. Please go ahead and file. If you meet all the requirements, please go ahead and file your applications. But know that USCIS will not issue final decisions. Yes, so USCIS is still accepting applications, but they're not under the adjudication pause. They're not issuing final decision for people who are subject or impacted by the adjudication pause. So that's very important. We've seen instances where they're even scheduling for people who filed asylum applications. They're even scheduling asylum interviews. They're scheduling interviews for people applying for green card, but then final decisions are put on hold based on this adjudication pause. So that's very important. Now, there are a few exceptions, and exceptions are very limited. So there are applications that are not subject to the adjudication pause, and those applications include employment authorization applications, or EAD applications, work permit applications, the I-765 applications, and unfortunately, it's not all of them because, as you know, the work permit application 765 is a work permit application that's used for people under different categories. So, if you're applying for asylum, you're eligible for work permit, you use that form. If you're applying for green card and eligible for work permit, you use that form. But here, the exception is only for three categories: C8, C11, and C14. C8 is for people with pending asylum applications. C11 and C14 are for people who have a type of visa that allows them to assist in law enforcement investigations or activities. So the T visas and other visas that allow folks to assist in law enforcement operations. So those are the categories that are exempt from the adjudication pause. The other applications include the I-9 or I-90, sorry, and that for a replacement or renewal of a green card, the actual card. So that's another exception. The other exception include Form 565 or Form N600, and those applications are for people who are trying to apply or get their citizenship certificate or naturalization certificate. So those applications are exempt from the adjudication pause. Also, for people who are athletes or participating in sport events. So for those people are also exempt from the adjudication pause. And I believe the visa there is P visa for people participating in sport events. So those are the big exceptions. Other exceptions include, people whose application serve the national interest of the U.S. Again, that can be a very ambiguous uh, um, notion, national interest, but there is an exception there for people whose application serves the national interest of the U.S. There is no exception for people with humanitarian needs. We've seen that in the past in the first Trump administration with some of the ban or the bans or processing pause, especially for people overseas. There are some exceptions for urgent medical or humanitarian reasons, but this adjudication pause does not include exemptions based on urgent medical or humanitarian reasons. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, I would say that if you have a reason or urgent reason or a valid reason for that matter, and you need to request expedited processing of your case or expedited adjudication, you can always contact USCIS and file a expedite request. I think there is information on USCIS website. Also, you can work with an attorney to help you file an expedite request. So that's a tool that people can use. Especially those who are subject to subject to the adjudication pause. Again, there is no exception for people with medical or urgent humanitarian reasons, but people can try. Now, also and I'm just sharing the trends here. We've heard that people with refugee status being arrested and detained, especially in Minnesota. And here I want to express our sympathy, our solidarity with our brothers and sisters in Minnesota. There was, and then, ICE, DHS as arresting or detaining, people with lawful status, including refugees and sometimes asylees, because they want to, under the January 1st, 2026 policy guidance, they are arresting them to re-review their approved applications, asylum or refugee applications. There was a court decision that came out earlier this week directing USCIS or DHS to release those people, and I'll put the court decision here in the chat. So it's something that we're tracking. We've also heard that some of the people arrested, they're being transported to different states and released without any assistance. And this court decision directed DHS to support those people and then make sure that they're returned home to the communities safely. Anyways, I'll stop there. Happy to answer some questions. I see questions in the chat. There's a national interest waiver also applied to EB1 or EB2. EB2 for sure are still, I think they're still processing national interest waivers. And national interest waivers are not the EB petitions, I-140 petitions, again, can be subject to the adjudication pause depending on your country of origin or nationality. All right. Happy to answer any other questions, but I'll stop here and pass it to April.
Did anybody have any questions they wanted to get out to Niels before I start talking about whether or not you can feel safe traveling? Because it's a really simple answer. No, okay. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. So I am talking about whether or not it is safe for you to travel right now as a person who is currently in status. So that means that you are currently a resident, you're currently in F1 status, something like that. I am not talking about people who are traveling on advanced parole. Why is my slide showing? Okay, there we go. Okay, for the visual learners, I have this up here, but really I'm just going to be telling you what you need to know. So if you are currently on F1 status or a lawful permanent resident, my very conservative advice to you is no, it's not safe for you to travel. Okay. I am very risk adverse, so I would not want to put myself in a position where I might be detained and may not be allowed to return to the United States safely. However, if you are a person who absolutely needs to travel and you're not as risk adverse as I am, I do not know what these lines are that are appeared on the screen here. There are some things that we can talk about to make it as safe as possible for you to travel. And the first thing is to understand who is a high risk traveler. So the first category that we've seen trends with is people who have been critical of Israel, or if you've done something that would be categorized as being critical of Israel. So if you're pro-Palestine and you've been vocal about that, that can be interpreted as being critical of Israel. And we have seen people who are stopped and asked questions and detained because of that. I have attorney friends who have been stopped on their way back into the United States because of their anti-Trump administration rhetoric, either on their social media or because they have it on their phones. The second category of high-risk traveler is if you have any criminal history, and that's not just in the United States, but also in your home country. So if you have any pending charges or you've had any past charges, that would also make you high risk. If you're going to travel with that situation, you need to make sure to travel with your document showing that it was dismissed or that you completed your probation. Whatever the issue is, you want to have that on you. And then the last high risk traveler is if you have anything in your documents that's going to show intent to overstay. So if you have had conversations in your WhatsApp where you're even just joking with your friends about not leaving the United States, or if you've had meetings with attorneys and you're planning on filing another application to remain in the United States, anything that indicates your intent to overstay, this is specific to the F1 and maybe J1 as well, then you're going to be considered a high risk to travel. So what precautions can you take because you're going to travel? The first one is having all of your documents in order. So you want to have your I-20, for example. You want to obviously have your visa, and you want to have these things physically with you, and you also want to email a copy to yourself. If you have a friend that you trust, you want to email a copy to that friend as well. The reason why you're doing this is because if something happens to you while you're detained, you want to have a friend who has your documentation and consults with an attorney. Oftentimes, we have a friend or family member that comes to consult with us. They don't know anything about the person's actual case or situation. And it's very difficult to get a case going when you don't know what that person's situation is. So having your friend that has these documents is very helpful. Also, I've had more occasions than it seems possible where a person loses their physical documents while they're traveling. So that's the other reason why you're emailing it to yourself and also to a friend. If you have an attorney who's representing you, you want to have a copy of your G-28, which is the notice of representation. You want to have a physical copy of this and an email copy as well. So if you are detained, you're able to immediately tell them, I have an attorney and I want to talk to my attorney. You should also have your attorney's phone number memorized because you may or may not have access to your phone in order to be able to get in touch with your attorney. A G-28 is also for if you are a resident and you're concerned about your ability to come back in. Full disclosure, I've traveled out of the country 3 times since this person became president, and I have a G-28. I have a friend who has a G-28 notice of representation for me because I've been very critical of the Trump administration, and I know that I would be potentially targeted for that. On your return flight, you want to come back in on a weekday during the daytime. And that's because if you want to have access to whomever your attorney is, if you want to have access to the Nigerian Center or other people who may be able to assist you, it's going to be easier for us to do that if you return on the weekday during the daytime. If you return at 8 p.m., I may or may not be available. I did have a client who did that before, and I made myself available to her. But I'm gonna be honest, I don't particularly care for it. Like you could plan better than that so that you can accommodate me so that I can accommodate you. Okay. And then lastly, clean your phone. These jokey conversations that you have with your friends about immigration, deleted. Okay. Wiped. No backup. So those are the precautions that I would take if I was going to travel despite the situation that we currently find ourselves in. And then I just want to highlight some of the resources that we have at the Nigerian Center. You already know that we do free consultations and application document review. We also now offer court representation because we do have an attorney, Tosin, who will be able to go to court with you. And if you go to our YouTube page, you will find seminars that we've previously recorded on TPS, VAWA, waivers, asylum, multiple other topics that are still relevant despite the current administration. So now I just see that there are a few questions. Would this be local or international travel? So I am specifically talking about international travel. For local travel, you should not have any issues. Follow the airline guidelines for whatever kind of identification you need to present. And that should not be a problem unless you are trying to travel to Hawaii or Puerto Rico. For those locations, you will potentially encounter enforcement officers. That's ICE is Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Even though those are parts of the United States, we often have a lot of international travel in those two hubs. So I would recommend that you go ahead and take your vacation to Miami and just forego Puerto Rico for now. Okay. Is reasonable fear interview to return to your country still an option during enforcement? Yes. So if for some reason you are detained and they tell you we are canceling your visa right now and you have fear to return to your home country, you can say that at that moment, I have fear to return to my home country. I would like to be set up for a credible fear interview. That's going to be if it's your first time, but if it's your second time, then it's a reasonable fear interview. That's kind of simplified, but that's all you really need to know for now. Just go ahead and assert, I have fear to return to my home country. And then that way they're not going to, well, they shouldn't, I shouldn't say what they're not going to do because things have been a little wild now, but you should not be put on a plane to return to your home country after you express fear. That's what the typical policy would be.
April, if you're done presenting, I guess we can move on to the Q&A session. And if anyone has any questions, please raise your hand or drop your question in the chat. So, okay, I see we have some questions coming in here. I think you were going to answer one right before I stopped you, April. You can continue to answer that.
I think the next question is for Nils, if he's still here. But if I'll answer the one right after.
I'm here.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry.
So do you want me to read it to you, Nils?
Please.
For Nigerians considering the travel restrictions, does the ban affect change of status from G to F1 visa within the United States? Also, does the ban affect employment authorization document issuance for F1 students or even OPT?
The answer is yes. As I said, so the second part of the question about employment authorization, the I-765 application. So only three categories are exempt. So C8, C11, and C14. So all the other categories are impacted. And with regard to the 539 application, the change of status, again, if your country is subject to the travel ban or the president proclamation 10998, then all applications are will be put on pause. Adjudication will be put on pause, including 539. The 539 application is not exempt; it's included. So, so first question that you should ask if your country is is part of the travel ban, the president proclamation, and then if yes, then what type of application? 539 is not exempt, then you are then the answer is yes, your application will be processed, but you will not get final approval or final decision, I should say. But you know, I mean, April maybe can also speak to this. We encourage folks to, if you are eligible for benefits, please file the application, because by filing the application, you are able to stop unlawful presence. So it's very important, especially for people transitioning or changing status. So it's very important to file the application, even if the adjudication pause applies to you. Again, down the line, that by filing the application, you are stopping unlawful presence in the U.S.
Yes, 100% agree. There's another question for you, Nils. What is the chance that I think that they're asking what is the chance that they might get an interview for their K-1 visa according to NVC? If not for the ban, I would have gotten my interview date now.
So it depends what country. I mean, K1 is a non-immigrant visa. It's so there are two suspension restrictions. So there is the immigrant visa processing pause that affects 75 countries. And I believe Nigeria is also there. It was on the list. So um, you know, that for people who are coming to the US to get a green card. Now, K visa is not part of the processing pause, the immigrant visa processing pause. K visa is the is a non-immigrant visa. In terms of interviews, continue to follow up with NVC and the embassy. I mean, embassies are reluctant to schedule interviews if you are subject to the travel ban. Unlike USCIS is still scheduling interviews even for people who are subject to the adjudication pause. But with the embassies, they are usually reluctant if they know that you are subject to the visa processing pause or the travel ban. Most likely, they won't schedule your interview, but you can still follow up.
Okay, for someone who is currently out of status but with valid Nigerian passport, who's filed for a family-based green card and work permit, plus had the interview for family-based and work permit, is it okay to travel within the United States? And what would be the right course of actions if that person encounters ICE officials? For me, as a risk-adverse person, I would not travel. But if you are going to travel, I would take the precautions that I mentioned. No one can tell you that it's completely safe for you to travel and that you would not encounter ICE while you're traveling because the airport is a federal location. It's not a state location. So they can be there at any point in time. They're just more likely to be there at certain locations than others, certain airports than others.
And
So,
I'll add, oh, sorry, April.
oh no, you're fine. I'm just gonna say like you technically technically yes, you can travel, but we're not living in a technical time, right? Go ahead, Neil. Sorry.
And one thing that people should note is that TSA and ICE, they work for the same, like they're part of the same agency, same department, right? And then recently they have been sharing information more often. So just be aware that, they are under one umbrella, DHS, and then they share information. So.
Um, I didn't get your recommendation on travel to Puerto Rico. My spouse, who is on F1 visa, has a conference in April of this year. What I said about Puerto Rico and Hawaii is that you are more likely to encounter ICE in those airports than you are if you're traveling from DC to Texas, for example. And the reason why is because they have a lot more international travel coming in and out of those places. So there's more of those officers that are there. As a adverse person, again, I do not recommend travel to those places when you are not a citizen. If you're going to travel to them, then I would take the precautions that I listed. Um, can a Nigerian with a green card travel from Canada to the United States? Same thing I just said about the precautions. Are there any litigations on these travel bans? Nils, is there any ongoing litigation on the travel bans?
Um, We are learning that there are organizations that are interested in litigation. We are also asking anyone who might be impacted by the travel ban, please let us know, please contact our team. I'll put my email in the chat. As you might know, I should have also mentioned this. The African Communities Together filed a lawsuit challenging TPS terminations for Ethiopia and South Sudan. What I would say is that there are a number of organizations interested in challenging this policy, and here at African Communities Together, we're looking into that. And please reach out if you'd like to be part of our litigation efforts. I'll put my email in the chat.
If someone had an interview scheduled before the non-immigrant ban went into effect, is it likely the embassy will still hold that interview? If they cancel the interview, they'll send you a notice of cancellation. But if they haven't sent you a notice of cancellation, then you need to show up on your interview date. Okay. For a national interest waiver case that was filed last year in February, is there any point to paying for an expedited processing right now? I'm not sure if this question was answered.
So for national interest waiver, the I-140, you can premium process an I-140. So yeah, so premium processing is available for an I-140.
Okay. What about I-134 and for a spouse? Should we still submit that application despite the pause on visas right now? Yes, because the I-130 does not turn directly into a visa. It is just going to be USCIS making a decision of whether or not they believe that you have a valid bona fide marriage to make you eligible to move to the next step, which would be a visa. So there's nothing wrong with submitting the I-130 right now. Apologies if I missed it. Is it safe for US citizens to travel to Nigeria? It should be fine for you to travel as a US citizen. If you're a naturalized citizen and you have any question about your background, like if there was any criminal history or any complex immigration history, we can certainly review that with you. For someone who's, okay, we answered that question. And let me see, is it different? Oh, no, it's a little bit different at the end, sorry. For someone who is currently out of status, but with a valid Nigerian passport who's filed for the family-based green card and work permit plus had the interview for the family-based and work permit, what will be the right course of action if that person encounters ICE officials? If you're detained by ICE, then unfortunately, you would either, be filing for a bond, or you'd have to remain detained while you get a decision on the I-130 and then refile the I-485, which is the application for residency in court. However, if the court agrees to release you on bond, then your applications will remain pending before USCIS. So that's the last question in the chat. Just want to remind you guys that this session is recorded and it's going to be on the Nigerian Center's YouTube page if you want to go back and review anything that was said.
Does anyone have any other questions that they would like to ask? Okay, this is your last chance. Going once, going twice. All right, so as we're closing it out, I would just like to remind everyone that the Nigerian Center has a free walk-in immigration clinic every Thursday from 12:30 p.m. to 4:30. We do offer virtual sessions for a fee, so please log on to our website here at the bottom if you would like to have a virtual session. If you would like to come in person, we are located at 700 Pennsylvania Avenue next to the Trader Joe's, so you can see the tall silver tower and know that's our building there. So please come in if you have any questions. If you would like representation, both Attorney Holloway and I are available to represent you. So that's it. Thank you so much for coming in today. Benga, if you have any closing remarks.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you.
All right, everyone, please have a good night and stay safe. Also, please remember that we have a YouTube channel, and there you can find information about other Know Your Rights that we have presented before. We do have one prior that does talk about what to do if you encounter ICE. So if you would like, please go to our YouTube channel at the Nigerian Center, and we wish you the best.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.